never saw my dad perform live. For me, this is the closest I will ever get to seeing my father and my family into it.
He never once saw Michael Jackson perform live. Not a single concert, not a single tour, nothing but old footage and family memory. For Jaafar Jackson, playing his uncle on screen became the closest he would ever get to standing in the same room as the man everyone else in the world already knew. But getting to that role would cost him more than anyone watching the finished film could imagine. Jaafar Jeremiah Jackson was born July 25, 1996 in Los Angeles, the son of Jermaine Jackson and Alejandra Oziaza. His mother had once been in a relationship with Jermaine's brother, Randy, tangling the family tree in a way that was unusual even by Jackson standards. He grew up inside Hayvenhurst, the family's guarded Encino compound, where recording studios sat as casually as kitchens. But growing up surrounded by legends doesn't mean you're destined to become one. At Hayvenhurst, music wasn't scheduled. It simply existed all the time, in every room. Jermaine filled the house with instruments, and family dinners often dissolved into impromptu harmonies. Jaafar gravitated toward piano and singing early, soaking it in through proximity rather than lessons. But his parents made a deliberate choice that would shape everything that came next. In 2019, Jaafar released his debut single, Got Me Singing, a smooth R&B track carrying an unmistakable Jackson warmth in his voice. It didn't chart, it didn't make headlines. He performed small venues and kept writing, treating music like a long game instead of a launch. Nobody watching those early shows could have guessed what was coming for him. Years later, an opportunity would land in his lap that no one, including Jaafar, saw coming. Somewhere across town, a director was running out of options and running out of time, and the search for the person to play Michael Jackson on screen was about to hit a wall nobody could get around. In early 2022, producer Graham King, fresh off the success of Bohemian Rhapsody, secured the rights to a Michael Jackson biopic. Lionsgate signed on. The Jackson estate agreed to open the music catalog, a non-negotiable piece for any serious production. The moment word got out, everyone understood two things at once. This would be massive, and finding the right actor might be impossible. Whoever took the role needed to sing across multiple eras, dance with total precision, and carry the emotional weight of one of the most complicated lives in music history. Most performers could manage one of those. Almost nobody could do all three. The production was about to learn just how few people on Earth could actually pull this off. Antoine Fuqua opened casting calls in London and Los Angeles, drawing crowds that stretched around city blocks. Actors, dancers, professional Michael Jackson impersonators, complete unknowns, everyone showed up. But every audition revealed the same problem. Someone could dance but couldn't sing. Someone could sing but moved like they'd studied it in a mirror instead of living it. Weeks turned into months. The impersonators were technically flawless and emotionally hollow. Fuqua needed someone who could locate the person underneath the icon, not just recreate the icon itself. As the timeline tightened and pressure mounted from the studio, it seems possible the production might never find its Michael. Then a tape arrived that nobody was expecting. Jaafar's audition reached the producers after months of searching, and multiple reports described the room falling completely silent while it played. He shared roughly a quarter of his uncle's genetic material, and the resemblance around his eyes and jaw was immediate. But it wasn't his face that convinced them. It was something in the way he moved that nobody could fake. On January 30th, 2023, the news went public. Fuqua told press Jaafar embodied Michael in a way that went far past imitation. Jaafar posted a childhood photo of himself dressed in his uncle's style, promising to honor the legacy. The internet reacted instantly and loudly, and behind the scenes, the real work hadn't even begun yet. Before he learned a single dance step, Jaafar spent weeks studying interview transcripts, private writings, and unguarded archival footage. He wanted to understand the person before attempting the performer. He pulled back from his own social circle entirely during this stretch, giving himself no distractions. Movement and voice would come later. Understanding the man came first, and that decision would define everything that followed. Working with choreographers who had toured with Michael himself, Jaafar broke the moonwalk down to its raw mechanics, the flat foot, the sliding toe, the exact moment weight shifted to create the illusion of gliding backward. He drilled spins until his body ached, isolating chest pops and neck snaps in the precise sequences Michael had used decades earlier. But the choreography wasn't the hardest part of what came next. His walls filled with photographs spanning off the wall, thriller, and bad. He studied concert footage from different cities, noting how Michael's energy shifted with every audience. He slowed interview clips down, cataloging tiny expressions almost no one else would notice. By the time filming began, he had lived inside this material for months, and what happened when the cameras finally rolled shocked even the crew. When the full prosthetics, wig, and costume came together for the first time, crew members on set reported a visible and audible reaction. His natural facial similarities meant the transformation could be subtler with any other actor who might have taken the role. Jaafar stood in the mirror that day for a long time before he could bring himself to move. And that was only the beginning of what this role would take from him. Despite tight security, a single photograph leaked mid-production, showing Jaafar in full costume recreating an iconic tour performance. It spread within hours. Some people insisted it had to be archival footage of Michael himself. Jaafar stayed off social media entirely through the frenzy, but the leak had already done something the marketing team never could. It made millions of strangers feel like they'd already glimpsed something they now desperately needed to see finished. The screenplay didn't shy away from the physical cost of Michael's career, including the severe burns suffered during a 1984 accident and the brutal demands of a tour spanning over 100 concerts across 15 countries. Jaafar filmed scenes depicting medical treatment and sheer exhaustion, grounded in documented events from the era the film covers. Recreating that pain on camera left a mark on him that didn't disappear when the camera stopped rolling. Rather than choosing between Michael's original vocals and Jaafar's live performance, the production built a hybrid, blending both within single scenes. Jaafar sang raw on set, then layered his voice over isolated original stems in post-production, matching phrasing and breath down to the smallest detail. The goal was simple to state and brutal to execute. Nobody watching should be able to tell where one voice ended and the other began. Choreographers and musicians who had toured with Michael were present throughout filming, offering corrections no script could have provided. Some of them had walked in openly skeptical that anyone could pull this off, family or not. What they witnessed on set over the following months quietly changed their minds, but even they weren't prepared for what happened the day filming finally wrapped. After more than a year inside another person's physical and emotional vocabulary, Jaafar had to find his way back to his own life. Crew members described the strange adjustment of relating to him as Michael for so long, then suddenly not. He packed away the research and photographs that had lined his trailer walls for over a year. Letting go of the role felt, in his own words, like losing his uncle all over again. In limited interviews afterward, Jaafar called the experience the hardest thing he had ever done, and the most meaningful. He said he came to know his uncle more intimately through the work than he ever had while Michael was alive. That kind of intimacy doesn't just disappear once a film wraps, and soon the entire world would be watching to see if it had all been worth it. Lionsgate's first teaser used no dialogue at all. A silhouetted figure backlit on stage, the sound of a glove fastening, the opening bass notes of Billie Jean, then a hard cut to black. It racked up tens of millions of views within a single day. Fans described crying at the sight of Michael's image returning to the screen. The marketing team held everything else back deliberately, and the anticipation kept building for months. The world premiere landed in Berlin on April 10, 2026, more than 3 years after Jaafar's casting was first announced. The Jackson family arrived in coordinated formal wear, with Jermaine walking his son down the carpet. Early reactions were overwhelmingly positive, with praise centered squarely on Jaafar's performance. 10 days later, the film opened across the United States, and the real test was about to begin. Michael opened to $97 million domestically and $217 million globally, shattering the previous opening weekend record for a music biopic. Audiences turned out in massive numbers across dozens of territories. Within weeks, the film had done something no biographical film in history had ever managed, and the number kept climbing. By mid-July 2026, Michael passed $1 billion worldwide, becoming the first biopic ever to reach that milestone, surpassing both Bohemian Rhapsody and Oppenheimer, neither of which had gotten close. For Lionsgate, a studio built on franchises like John Wick and The Hunger Games, it marked their first billion-dollar release ever. For Jaafar, an unknown singer with a legendary surname just 3 years ago, it marked something almost unbelievable. But not everyone was celebrating for the same reasons. While audiences embraced the film, scoring it close to 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, critics were far more divided, with reviews sitting well below that number. Several pointed out that the story concludes during the 1988 Bad World Tour, leaving Michael's more complicated later years untouched. That gap between what critics saw and what audiences felt became one of the most talked about parts of the film's rollout, and it raised a question nobody could answer yet. Industry commentators have already started floating Jaafar as a possible awards contender heading into the 2026 and 2027 season, alongside buzz for the film's sound design and makeup work. Lionsgate hasn't confirmed a campaign strategy, but a $1 billion box office gives them every reason to try. Whether Jaafar returns to music, takes on more acting roles, or does both, one thing is clear: the door that just opened for him will not close quietly. 3 years ago, Jaafar Jackson was a little-known singer carrying a legendary surname and not much else. Today, he's the face of the highest-grossing biopic in history, a film that introduced Michael Jackson's artistry to a generation that never saw him perform live. He didn't take this role for fame. He took it because someone had to carry the story forward, and he believed it should be family. What he builds from here is entirely up to him, and the world is finally watching to find out.